All right, welcome everyone. Today we're going to dig into the fundamental architecture of the entire plant kingdom. We're talking about plant form. Really, you can think of it as the essential blueprint that connects every single plant you've ever seen, from the smallest flower to the tallest tree. So let's start with a question. Think about it. You've got a cactus, an orchid, and a big hardwood tree. What could they possibly have in common? I mean, one's a spiky desert plant, another's a super delicate tropical flower, and the third is this massive forest giant. On the surface, they couldn't seem more different, right? But they're all built from the same master plan.
And here it is. That common master plan is this really simple but elegant division of labor. Below the ground, you have the root system. Its job is to anchor the plant and soak up water and nutrients. And then above ground, you've got the shoot system. That's the stems, the leaves, the flowers, and it's all dedicated to capturing sunlight and handling reproduction. This basic split, it makes everything else in the plant world possible.
Okay, so how does a tiny little seed actually build out this whole structure? Well, the secret is in these special zones of growth. They're like the powerhouses of the plant body. Let's get into meristems. So what are meristems? Think of them as the plant's permanent construction sites. They are packed with these undifferentiated cells, which are basically the plant version of stem cells. These cells are kind of forever young. They're just constantly dividing to produce all the new cells that will eventually become every part of the plant. Now, these main engines of growth are called apical meristems, and they're found in very specific places, right at the very tips, the apex of every single shoot and every single root. Their whole job is to just push growth outward, making the plant taller and sending its roots deeper and deeper into the soil. And this leads us to the two fundamental ways that plants grow. First, you've got primary growth. This is driven by those apical meristems, and it's all about getting longer, getting taller. Then you've got secondary growth. This is all about expansion, getting wider or thicker. This is what gives woody plants, like trees, all their strength and their girth. And you can see both of these happening at the same time right here. The arrows show that apical growth pushing up from the shoot tip and down from the root tip, that's your primary growth. But at the same time, you've got lateral growth, which comes from lateral meristems, expanding the stem and roots outwards. It's really simple when you think about it. Taller at the tips, wider on the sides. So if meristems are the factories, what exactly are they building? Well, they produce three fundamental types of tissue systems that make up the whole plant body. Let's think of these as the plant's basic building materials. First up, we have the dermal tissue. And the analogy here is perfect. It's the plant's skin. This outer layer, the epidermis, is usually just a single layer of cells that forms a protective barrier between the plant and, well, the rest of the world. But this skin has to be able to breathe, and that's where these incredible little structures come in. What you're looking at are stomata, these tiny little pores, each one flanked by two guard cells that cover the epidermis. They're like little gatekeepers controlling the flow of carbon dioxide in and oxygen out. Super important. So this one system is a triple threat, really. It waterproofs the plant so it doesn't dry out. It manages all its gas exchange through those stomata, and it provides the first line of defense against hungry herbivores and nasty diseases. Okay, next up is the ground tissue. If dermal tissue is the skin, then ground tissue is kind of like everything else in between. It's the filler material that makes up the bulk of the plant, and it is a true multitasker. Now, ground tissue is made of three main cell types, and they each have a different job. You've got your parenchyma cells for general metabolism, the flexible collenchyma cells that support young shoots, and then the really tough, rigid sclerenchyma cells that provide serious structural reinforcement. And what are all those jobs? Well, pretty much all the essential stuff. Most of a plant's photosynthesis, that happens in the ground tissue. It's also where the plant stores its food and water. And of course, it provides the physical support that holds the whole plant up. And finally, our third system, the vascular tissue. This is the plant's intricate plumbing system. It's this incredible network of tubes that runs all the way through the plant, connecting the deepest roots to the highest leaves. This plumbing basically has two main pipes. On the left, you see the xylem. Its job is to transport water and minerals up from the roots. A good way to remember it is xylem to the xylem. Then on the right, you have the phloem. It transports the sugars, the food made during photosynthesis, down from the leaves to feed the rest of the plant. So it's simple. Water goes up, food flows down. Okay, so we have our building materials, dermal, ground, and vascular tissues. Now let's take a quick tour and see how they all come together to build the major plant organs, the roots, the stems, and the leaves.
Now, this is a classic distinction you'll definitely need to know. Just look at how the vascular tissue, that plumbing, is arranged in the stem. In eudicots, like a sunflower, those vascular bundles form a nice, neat ring. But in monocots, like corn, the bundles are just scattered all over the place. It's a key feature you can use to tell them apart.
Let's look back down at that root tip again for a second. It's not just some chaotic mess of growing cells. No, it's a highly organized little production line. You've got the zone of cell division right at the tip, then a zone of elongation where those new cells get bigger, and finally a zone of maturation where the cells specialize into their final forms, dermal, ground, or vascular tissue. Now that we've got the basic blueprint down, we get to the really fun part, seeing how plants tweak and modify these basic organs, roots, stems, and leaves, to survive in all kinds of crazy environments. Check out these roots! On the left, corn plants grow these prop roots that come out of the stem to give them extra support. And on the right, this orchid, which lives on other trees, has these wild aerial roots that are adapted to literally grab moisture right out of the humid air.
Stems get in on this modification game too. An onion? That's actually a modified stem called a bulb, and it's designed for storage. A strawberry plant sends out these runners, which are horizontal stems, to make new plants. And a potato? That's a tuber, another modified stem that's just packed with starch to help the plant survive the winter.
So let's bring it all home with this summary chart. Honestly, think of this as your ultimate cheat sheet. It all starts with the apical meristem. That generates the primary meristems, which in turn differentiate into our three tissue systems, dermal, ground, and vascular. And finally, those tissues are organized into the organs we've just been talking about. See? It's all connected.
So we've broken the plant down into all its essential parts. But the real question, the one I want to leave you with, is this. How do these simple rules, these basic tissues and growth patterns, scale up to create the absolutely breathtaking complexity and diversity we see in a single meadow, let alone an entire rainforest? Now that is the magic of botany. Thanks for tuning in.